Hello, I'm Oral, and welcome to this very special edition. My guest on the program, boy, man, she's not a stranger. A young lady, number 3 candidate on the PFP party list, MP Weever. How you doing, MP?
I'm good. Hello, Oral. OJ, Mr. Gibbs. And then hello to everyone else as well. It's always special. Like every time I come here, it's always special to be here.
Oh, it's great to have you in the program. How's your dog doing?
Excuse me?
How's your dog doing?
My dog's great, missing me because I'm hardly ever home because I'm on the campaign trail. But both of my dogs are good. I also have a cat that has 3 legs, so the rescue cat. But they're just missing me a lot. So they're, whining a little bit more that I'm not home, but it's all for a good cause. Doing the work for the people, trying to get them out there to vote, encourage them to go out and vote, make the right choice this election cycle.
Are the people depressed or are they happy in your opinion right now?
This time what I spent more time in the last few weeks is actually campaigning to people in darkness. I thought that it was going to be very uncomfortable doing it to the point where...
In darkness, you mean?
Yes, one meeting I had was 3 hours in darkness.
Really?
And I thought that there would be a lot more, how do you say, closed off, and say, now's not the right time, please leave. But there's so much more important issues at hand and topics that need resolving that even the persons within the community allowed me to stay there long enough with them to get those concerns of theirs out. And I think, knowing that, I know, knowing that this is, they're persevering, they're pushing through the heat of a room, of a house, of their house, in order to get their concerns out. That's important of a message that's going out there, because I did not expect that. I did not expect people to be so welcoming under the conditions that we had with limited electricity. And I have to thank them if they're tuning in, listening to this. Thank you very much for allowing me into your home, for allowing our teams into your home. It's important that we hear the things that concern you so that we can continue to work towards it and prove to you that we are the right team, we are the right persons to see St. Martin get through this hurdle and take us back to great standing and a very, very bright future.
The last time I had you in the program, I got a WhatsApp message from a lady. Actually, it was a voice note. I was surprised. She was so happy. Yeah, she was so happy to see you. She said, "Oh, Lily, that's my girl. I love her." So, wow. You will love her.
I'm glad. Thank you. I have to just say thank you for saying that, because I'm really glad that you get that kind of reaction, because I don't often share with people what my name means. And my name is a Slavic name, a Russian name. The last time I was on here with you, I did tell you that, my dad, when he was studying in Russia, was basically, I guess, exposed to the world of Slavic and Russian names. And I have a name that's a very old traditional name. And Ludmila means love of the people. And I think when you have that name, maybe without even knowing the meaning of it, you find yourself for this abundance of love for your people. And in turn, like you just said, someone said, "I just love that girl." I get it back in return, but that's what I give out. I give out love, and I get it back because I call it, karma. I just call it, righting the balance in the world, and it makes me feel really good at the end of the day to have that respect and love from people, because all I am doing with the team that I'm with, that's the gold slate, is trying to show St. Martin that we are committed to you. We are committed, whether that is through our work ethic, our knowledge, our love. We are committed to seeing St. Martin improve.
And why it strikes me so much is because these days people are very skeptical of politicians.
Yeah.
Very
true. And yesterday when I met someone new, and they, I guess, the fact that you are a public figure, whether you are elected or not, anyone that is running for office, they are finding themselves obviously in the limelight, right? In the public eye. So whether that is videos online or through advertising that you're doing online and printed material, people are getting to know you. They're hearing your radio interviews, seeing your video interviews. They're getting to see or to understand you in addition to what they know about you from maybe what they heard on the road because they never met you before. And yesterday I met someone new and they said, don't change. So I said, what do you mean by that? And they said, don't ever change. What we are seeing of you and what we are understanding as a person that you are and what we're hearing about you is that you're full of love and you're very bubbly, very energetic, and don't change. You haven't changed. And even though I've only spent 4 years in office, but I've never changed. And the biggest compliment that I get from staff within the government building and even with staff within the parliament building is that, man, from the time you came into office, you're still you. I haven't changed. And people need to remember that, because one of the reasons that the public puts you in office is that there's something of you, like about you, that attracts them to support you. And when you go into office, nothing should change other than the fact that maybe you grow your audience and people get to know you even more because you're in the limelight, and you have to keep that communication with them even when you're there. A lot of the time what happens is that it probably is very easy for people to lose connection with the community because they're so busy trying to work in office, whether it's in executive or legislative, and that's a problem. You need to make sure that you're keeping balance with them and really remaining true to who you are at your core, like who your personality is and the reason people like you. A lot of people forget that because, when you're elected to office, you have a lot of perks that come with the job. You have a lot of attention. You're always in the camera, you're always in the public eye, and people are looking up to you, but you have to remember that you're still human, still find your humility, still be humble. Because it's the same people that you are going to start to ignore when you're in office because you're kind of smelling yourself, as we say in the Caribbean, are the ones that you're going to go back to 4 years down the line when we actually take 4 years down the line to run a complete or to stay in office for the entire term. And that's really my message to the other candidates going out there, and also a reminder to the public that, not only just holding your elected officials accountable while they're in office, but make sure they remain true to you, true to the island, and not forget us on a big scale.
But you have 3 other sisters, right?
I do. I have one older who's a lawyer,
Yeah.
Corporate lawyer. I have 2 younger. One is an epidemiologist that most probably know or saw a lot during COVID, and then I have my youngest sister who actually used to work at the central bank, but now she is living in the Dominican Republic.
So how your sisters feel about you as a politician?
They're really proud. They're really proud of me, and I don't take their compliments for granted, because as much as I am in the public eye, I find it sometimes very difficult to constantly be in the public eye. I'm very shy about going back to listen to interviews or watching recordings, and sometimes I really have to be in the mood for it. So I get the feedback a lot from my sisters. So I appreciate that for them, and everyone else, they can give me their feedback, whether it's positive or negative, but it's all for me to improve into how I represent the country. Yeah. So they're very proud. They're very proud. I still find it hard that I'm the one doing it and not the one that I expected to do it, which is my oldest sister, Nirvana.
Oh, okay.
It's all surreal to me, and I strongly believe that that's a good reason for me being where I am, because the fact that every day it feels unreal that I get to represent the people of St. Martin is one of the things that keeps my humility in check. It keeps you humble. It keeps you connected with the people. And maybe that's how all politicians should be at the end of the day, is still find that every time they get a chance to represent their people, it's the most amazing, rewarding, honorable experience, but don't forget your humility.
Well, you serve as a member of parliament. You also serve as Minister of TIAT.
Correct. Yeah, about half and half,
Right,
I would say,
yeah,
the first term.
But looking at your political career, and it's been, what, 4 or 5 years now, basically?
Yeah, I guess now I could say, so we're 2024. I would say now it's 4 years exact. So when I went into office was end of March 2020. Right. So it'd be 4 years and let's say 4 months. Okay. Basically 4 years, 4 months.
So I'm sure now you're looking forward to August 19th, the big day, parliamentary elections in St. Martin.
I can't wait for the campaign season to be done. I absolutely cannot wait for it to be done. Not because it's not fun and it's stressful and tiring and all of that. I can't wait for it to be done so that we can actually, so that PFP can start doing the work for the people.
And you're looking to be re-elected by the people?
Absolutely, absolutely. And some on the team looking to be re-elected, and new candidates on the team looking to be elected for the first time. Yeah. And my message is to St. Martin is to give the Gold Slate the chance to represent you. We have built an amazing team of candidates that really are truly committed to working in your best interest. And they can go through the entire history of since PFP has been in office. And this is one of the reasons that I am very proud where I am, to be with a team that is keep pushing for the right things to be done. So that is what I'm looking forward to, is to getting us on a bigger scale this time around.
Earlier you told me about the people you met in darkness, like for 3 hours, but you didn't tell me what struck you most about those meetings. Like, what really touched you most?
So I left one of those meetings, and I reported back to my family, and I said that when people are going out on the campaign train and they're listening to the similar things that I'm listening to, if they are not leaving that meeting or that room or that house or that group, if they're not leaving super angry but ready and energized to fight, then the only other alternative that they could have to feel would be to cry when you listen to the issues. But if you're not coming out of there feeling either one of those two emotions, then I don't think you're campaigning in the right places. Because what struck me the most was how simple the issues and concerns were in one scenario that I was in. And when I had to answer 8 different persons with their concerns, my answer came out immediately. And then I reflected back on it with the group, and I said, did you see how quickly I answered all of your questions and concerns? So let's say we had about 10 persons and each person had a question, and I answered immediately. I didn't have to go to look up any information. I could answer immediately. And they said, yeah, you had an answer for everything. And I said, without hesitation, because everything that you asked me is what I've done before my political life. Everything that you have asked me, I've experienced in my capacity of just helping persons. I have never been in government. I was in private sector before I came into office for the first time in 2024. But in St. Martin, sometimes I felt growing up that if you didn't know people in places, you couldn't get things done. And then we tried to improve the services that you would get from a government perspective. And the improvement that is still in the process of being improved, actually, is putting things online. But not everyone is IT savvy or has access to it. Having more forms available online, making requests online. But what I'm missing and what I heard in the 10 persons that had 10 different questions, no question was alike, but it's 10 different questions that all came around the service that is provided by government. What I saw missing was we're lacking compassion in the way that we handle people. And what I mean by that is, I will take a perfect example. We have a student who is in St. Martin. We have, required mandatory education. Yeah. So regardless of your status, we have mandatory, compulsory education is what we call it. Compulsory education only lasts you up until high school, in a publicly funded high school at that. And then after, you have no prospects. So if you're someone that found yourself in St. Martin, and thank God to the graciousness of our system that you can have compulsory education, if your status isn't taken care of by the time you're 18, then you become 18, you become an adult. but you're also not in the system. So you have no future prospects for schooling, whether you want to go to USM, whether you want to go to NEPA, whether you want to go abroad. So you have no prospects unless it's self-financed, but then how can you go if your status on the island isn't regulated? That was one. Number two was you also have persons that are in school here, after high school, and sometimes the financing isn't there. But again, if it's a person who isn't properly registered within the system, but legal, because they're of Dutch nationality from somewhere within the kingdom, and they find themselves going into financial difficulties with school, and they can't proceed at their level in the school, what are the outlets for that? And for me, when I got those questions, for example, I said there's so many NGOs here on the island that can help the students, and I met a lot of them now as the kids are going back to school, and people will come to me and say, hey, if you know anyone who needs school supplies, if you know anyone who needs uniforms, it's all these NGOs, all these foundations that exist to help people out. Not mine, I don't have a foundation, everyone else. And what I saw lacking was compassion and services for just basic information. Because what I found very strange is that you wouldn't have this sort of social worker within the school system, or within even the elementary school system, the tertiary education, whether it might be sort of like USM or maybe NEPA, or even an information person that is in the government building, that is really just not in the government building, because I think it gives you a lot of pressure when you come in there as someone, but somewhere within the community, like a help center, for instance, that people can feel comfortable going in. And these were very simple requests, very, very simple things. Same thing with SZV. Why was someone kicked off of SZV at 18 years old when that's normally not the rule, so they don't have an SZV card? But it's simple information that is lacking. And it's not that, let's say, SZV or the government civil registry, it's not that they're not offering that, but we're missing a connection within the community of why people can't find that or feel comfortable going to someone to get that information. And now if I'm talking about it from a tax perspective, and I'm going to say this as a personal experience, when people are working in St. Martin, you have to get a crib number. A crib number is your unique identifying number at the tax office to make sure that when you are employed, that your taxes are done under your name the right way. There's a paper trail of it. But sometimes in St. Martin, people have been advised not to put themselves in the system, because if they were in the system, they're just going to keep getting tax assessments. Now, everybody has experience, and I'm going to look in the camera, everybody has experienced person or a family member or yourself that has gotten or received tax assessments for an exorbitant amount that doesn't really make sense with anything else, because the way the system works is that it's kind of going to give you an average, or it's going to give you something at the highest level, and it's up to the person to actually go in and correct it by going into the office and correct it. But on the other side of it, and I have to say this because I've seen this so many times, on the other side of it, persons are being advised not to get themselves a crib number, or go into to register, because of the fact that once they're there, they're gonna be getting assessments, and that's wrong of the system. It's really wrong advice, whoever is giving it out, to stop giving it to your clients, because when you tell people not to go into the tax system and get their crib number, because even though their status might be legal on the island, it might be me. But and what I mean is, you might have a crib number, but going into doing your taxes on an annual basis. By law, we are required to do our taxes. Whether we are an employer or an employee, it is required by law. But the minute you start telling someone, oh, you don't have to do your tax assessment every year, you're giving people the wrong impression of what their requirements are by law. And it also makes it difficult for them if they need anything within the system, if they have no record, if they have no record of what they're doing correctly in the system, it will basically be in their detriment. It'll be in a negative effect to them. And
sometimes they don't see it now, but later on
it shows up later on down the line. And a perfect example would be from experience of when I first went into government. You saw during COVID, that there was a payroll subsidy that was created for the community, but the only way you can get that is if your taxes were done on time. So if the country ever finds itself, or your tax assessments were done, if the country ever finds itself in a natural disaster, whether that is by a hurricane or whether that is done by something like COVID-19, if you have no record in the system that you are properly doing your taxes, then there's no way that, and the requirement is you have to have your taxes done up to within 3 years of the moment we have this natural disaster. But if you don't have it in order, you won't get the payroll subsidy. You won't get the support from the system, which is the government apparatus. And that's the message that I want to get out there today, is that, while our tax system might need improvement, actually not might, it needs improvement, it needs major reform. I'm so happy that the plans that PFP have presented in their manifestos has been picked up since January election and plastered on people's billboards, plastered on their website or in their interviews, and it makes me feel really proud that the Party for Progress team has put together such a well thought out proposal that everyone's copying it. And I've been saying it a lot lately because it's good ideas, and it's good ideas that's going to make St. Martin get back on track and improve. But I know that I went off a lot because at one point it was these 10 persons that had very simple requests, but were just either given insufficient information or just not given information that would really help them to just level the playing field and just bring them up to a proper status standing within our system. And to that, my message going out there to everyone is, for those of you that are helping people for free advice, for all of these things, thank you. And then on the other side of it, anytime you can help a person just by answering a simple thing of, well, it's not recommended not to do your tax assessments, you're helping a fellow St. Martiner. You're helping a fellow islander. And that's really what we need to keep pushing each other to do, is help each other out and share the best ideas that will bring us up to a better level.
In case you've just joined us, this is a special edition with MP Ludmila Weever. She's the number 3 candidate on the PFP Party for Progress. And we're here to speak. That's a color of.
Well, PFP's color is gold, but I think
that's almost gold.
Yes, it's almost gold.
It looks good. It looks good. It looks great.
The funny part is, can you imagine if all the candidates, when they would go out to to talk and to interviews, if we were all glittering in gold, it would just be pretty funny.
Big chain of those
pretty funny to see. But yes, our party color is gold.
Precious metal.
Sorry.
It's a precious metal.
Precious metal, and that's why we call it the gold standard, right? And then now, our thing is the gold slate, but we call it the gold standard because beforehand everything was tied to it, right? Measured according to that. But it's a very stable metal. And anyone that has been big in investments over the years, one of the how do you say, really good assurance or a very sort of constant and comfortable investment is when people would invest in metals. So it would be silver and gold they would invest in, that they tend to keep their value of it. That's why most governments had gold bars, and it's I think it's a nice messaging to send out there because you have this stability affiliated with it.
The last time you was here in the program, you used a word that the average man and woman that on the street, like the little man and woman, don't really use.
Which one was that?
Demagogue.
Well, you see, I find demagogue, when you hear the word, right? The word sounds like something bad. The word demagogue. It's like, if there's any Stranger Things fans out there, which is that Netflix reality series, I think they call it, the monster in the series is called a Demogorgon, if I'm not mistaken. And when I heard when I heard the word Demogorgon, it always reminded me of demagogue. Demagogue is basically a person that uses the current situation or any situation in a country, usually in a political setting, to brainwash the masses. So I find when you listen to the word demagogue, it sounds like it has this negative connotation. Yes, it has this negative connotation just by listening to demagogue. Like it's not like butterfly.
Yeah.
You know, like it's a very heavy word, because what comes with a demagogue is a person who wants to gain power and popularity through mainstreaming the issues, the current issues and sort of struggle of any community, bringing it towards the forefront, blaming it on a specific group, and then rallying people to become behind them based on that reason. And very briefly, on the last time that I was on, I compared it to Hitler. You could do Hitler, Pol Pot, any sort of person out there, like, you know, with authoritarian, with total rule, that wants to take over the place and do it with bad intentions, and that's really what the word was.
But is it
what was the question about the word?
Because a few people met me and said, like, what's the meaning of the word? So I explained to them similar to what you said there. I normally use very simple words because my audience, I want them to understand everything, but I think in the context that you use it, it was beautiful, you know. And when people say, "Wow, I like it,"
yeah,
that's so. Everyone that I explained it to, they said, "Wow, I love it."
Yeah, and I couldn't think of a more appropriate word.
Yeah.
And I think it's because I'm a Stranger Things fan. So anyone looking in, you know, if you don't have Netflix, go by someone who has Netflix and just watch Stranger Things. It's so Demagogue reminds me of Demogorgon. You know, it reminds me of this monster, and basically in this political atmosphere that we're in, I don't want people to be moved by a monster, other than the fact that if they're going to come together to fight against a monster. Yeah. And it has symbolic meaning in the sense of, you know, if someone wanted to apply that word to an individual, they could. But if they want to apply that word to something else we're dealing with as together, then they could do that as well. You know, like the symbolism of it is there. And I think my call to everybody is to come together and kind of unite and resist the pull of a demagogue, of a Hitler-like, you know, brainwashing, and just realize that St. Martin was always this amazing, beautiful place that when people would come here for the first time, they couldn't really like put their finger on what it was about this island that kind of like, you know, drew them into the island. And
they didn't want to leave either once.
That's it. This is what happens. And I'm going to bring the similarity to where I lived which is London, right? And a lot of people, they come and they love or hate it, but the longer they're there, it kind of sinks in, and then they find it really hard to leave, right? And St. Martin is like this. Like it's you come here most of the time, because it does not have gray skies like London. It's this beautiful island that has mountains, that has also, you know, flat lying areas like in the lowland side of things. And it's very green most of the time, beautiful beaches. And the people, for me, are what make the island, right? Because in St. Martin, it's the kind of like it happened yesterday. I pulled aside, I saw some tourists on the side of the street, and I said, "Excuse me, hi, good afternoon, are you okay?" That's it, that's all. I see them, they look like they're tourists. They didn't have an R plate, they look like they're tourists, and I said, "Are you okay?" But it's this St. Martin, that's a St. Martin thing, I find, right? Like, I mean, I'm from here, I might be biased, but it's something about this place when you look at the landscape, when you look at the people, and it just draws you in, and it's everything that we have to offer is worth fighting for. And I'm not saying fighting in the sense of being violent. I'm saying fighting in the sense of go out to the polls and fight for better representation. Go out and remind your politicians that this island is worth fighting for just looking at the landscape of it. And more importantly, go out and remind your politicians and remind your neighbors to go out and fight for you. Like, just we're like, go out and remind people we want to fight for each other. So you got to go out and do it by voting. That's how you do it.
But when you look at the dummy ballot, I saw one. It's huge.
Yeah.
There were 9 parties?
There are 9 parties, and actually Party for Progress, PFP, we're number 8.
Number 8,
on the, you know, everyone went into Parliament.
Right.
MP Melissa Gums was there. MP Melissa Gums is the leader, and she picked everyone gets to pick a number. You pull a number, and we picked number 8. So the good thing about, you know, the fact that we're number 8 is that we just tell everyone it's towards the end. Towards the end is the one before the last. It's a really easy explanation to give the public, because sometimes you're having difficulty with persons, not only if you're dealing with someone who has a physical disability to be able to hold a pen. You are allowed to take a family member there with you, or a caregiver is allowed to be with you. But also if you have a visual, so if you have issues with seeing, because it's very small on the page, if you have visual impairment, if you have issues seeing, even if you have glasses, sometimes you never know, your eyes are tired, it makes it difficult, you're also still allowed to have someone there. But you should, you know, for people to have this idea of where we are, where the party is, where the Party for Progress is. We are number 8. There are 12 candidates on the slate. And a couple of days ago, I said, you know, we have such a good team that even if you are undecided with how you want to vote, just go by number 8 on the list. And then if you're not sure who you want, just go eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Just do it in silence in there. Because my message to people is to just really go out and vote. And while I'm on that note, I want to say one thing about what I have seen consistent, right? In your voting population, consistent, I think anywhere in the world, not think I know anywhere in the world, is that most people think it's normal, or most people believe that it's acceptable behavior to not vote out of frustration. Most people think it's acceptable to not vote out of anger. Most people think it's acceptable to not vote because they feel like nothing changes. But and this is my message, is I keep reminding people that, you know, it's a two-way street, okay? If we, you know, elected officials, we're here to represent you, but we also need you to hold us accountable. And the way that you hold us accountable and you keep the pressure on, whether you do it through social media, whether you do it through writing letters to the newspaper, whether you do it through phone-ins on the radio programs, whether you do it being interviewed here by yourself. If someone said, I want to get out there as a union rep and hold my politicians accountable, this is the power. This is the power that the community has. This is the power that the voter has, is that this is not a one-way street. I need you. We need you to vote. But you also need us you need to hold us accountable for what it is that we were asking your support for. And this is what I want to remind the public. And every time, so what the constant that I'm hearing is, I'm really annoyed that we have to go back to elections. I don't want to vote. And I'm upset, nothing changes. I could see why they would say nothing changes, because you also have had representatives that don't want it to change. And those people who don't want it to change made up the majority in Parliament. And this is why I tell people that this time, instead of saying I protest, and the way that I protest is I will choose not to vote, I am asking the public to use your frustration, use your anger, for a bigger voice, and to, instead of abstaining from voting, go out and vote big, vote for the Party of Progress.
It's quite interesting, because a lot of people feel that they've been abandoned over the years.
Yes.
And that's why I said earlier to you that sometimes people are very skeptical of politicians, but it's a good profession. I think when you get into politics, you have an opportunity to really help
Yes,
people.
Absolutely.
Really help.
Absolutely.
And that's the beauty of it, helping people.
I think that's the point of it, Oral. That's the point. The point is to get into office to help people. The reason that people are frustrated is because they're not getting the help that they want. And it's not that the problems aren't known. The problems are known. But when you get into office, you need to make sure that you have a really good plan in place. and maybe go through the hierarchy, go through what is priority. And I will tell you now, based on the last couple weeks, priority is to figure out our medical insurance system, figure out how we can make sure that we can get the best doctors here, regardless of if they're outside of the Dutch system. Our priority is to make sure that we have a fair tax system that is simplified, which is what Party for Progress has included every time in their manifesto, simplified in such a way that it's literally maybe three ranges of taxes for people to be able to easily do it. Simplify our taxes on a business level, just to make sure that that it's easier for us, and we are all inclusive of a greater group that will be there contributing to it, and being responsible with our finances, that the other issues can be taken care of, which is just maintaining the one product that has kept us afloat for forever, which is now what we're under threat of damage, which is our tourism sector. And only then can we really focus on anything new, is once we maintain what we have, we fix what we have, and then say, hey guys, we're doing well, now let's move on to bigger and better things so that we can start diversifying. And this is possible, Oral, and I'm going to look in the camera. This is possible with the team that I've been part of since the last election, which is the Party for Progress.
Ludi, I'm going to call you Ludi now. That's the nickname people call you at, You've been around, you understand it, you come from a family that served the community, both French and Dutch side. And so now August 19th is the big day. So in closing, it's all yours. What do you want to say to the voters?
Thank you, Oral. The first time I ran, my aunt said, she went up on stage, my aunt Millicent Weever, she went up on stage and she said something along the lines of, this girl here, this woman here isn't afraid of work. And I didn't understand what she meant by that initially. And now in hindsight, it keeps coming up in my head all the time. And she was absolutely right, because it might be easy to ask people to vote for you. But what's the harder thing is once you get into office to actually do the work. And I'm not scared of work. I actually sometimes need to understand that work needs a little bit of balance in my life. And I am committed to working for the country. I am committed to working for my people of St. Martin. I am part of a team that is committed to that as well. Party for Progress. Choose progress. On August 19th, go out, vote for the gold slate. I am the #3 candidate, Ludmila de Weever. Thank you in advance for your vote.